At first glance, the week of April 6th to 12th, 2025, appears tranquil, a gentle lull in the cosmic tides. But don't be fooled. Beneath this serene surface, something far more potent stirs. The moon, silent yet relentless, moves through a corridor of unspoken tension, weaving together the energies of Mercury, Venus, and Saturn like invisible threads pulling at your subconscious. This is not a week of peace. It is a week of pressure, subtle, creeping, and dangerously easy to underestimate. The moon's current path is what astrologers call a cosmic compression zone, a rare alignment where planetary retrogrades, direct stations, and lingering shadows converge. Mercury is just turning direct. Venus is ending her retrograde, and Saturn stands like a stern judge in the background. Alone, these transits might pass as minor blips, but the moon, our emotional amplifier, transforms them into something you can feel. It's as if the universe has turned up the volume on every unresolved thought, every buried emotion, every half-forgotten tension. The air itself feels thicker, charged with an unnameable weight. If you're spiritually sensitive, you've likely already noticed the signs. A restlessness in your chest as you try to sleep. A foggy mind that won't settle, even when logic insists everything is fine. A sense that time itself is bending, stretching in some moments, collapsing in others. These are not random glitches. They are the first whispers of a storm building in the unseen layers of reality. Most people will dismiss them as stress or fatigue. But you know better. This is the trap. The universe wants you to think this week is harmless. It wants you to lower your guard, to assume the retrograde chaos is over, to believe the calm is real. But the truth is far more provocative. The calm is the mask. The storm is the revelation. And the moon is the silent force ensuring you don't miss the lesson. Pay attention to what arises in these quiet moments. The sudden flash of an old memory. The unexpected sting of a thought you thought you'd released. The way certain people or situations seem to pull at you with invisible strings. These are not accidents. They are pressure points. Places where your spirit is still tender, still healing, still waiting for resolution. The moon is pressing on them, not to hurt you, but to show you where you're still holding on when you need to let go. By midweek, the illusion will begin to crack. Some will feel it as anxiety with no clear source. Others will notice old patterns resurfacing, arguments that reignite, emotions that spiral, dreams that carry cryptic messages. This is not regression, it's revelation. The cosmic compression is forcing what's hidden into the light, and the moon is ensuring you can't look away. The question is, will you fight the tension, or will you listen to it? The storm isn't here to destroy you. It's here to clear the path. But first, you have to admit the calm was never real. The real work begins now. Mercury direct chaos, the truth about clarity after retrograde. The moment Mercury stations direct on April 7th, a collective sigh of relief will ripple through the air. Finally, the retrograde is over. Communications will clear, plans will move forward, and life will supposedly return to normal. Or so the mainstream astrological narratives claim. But the truth is far more complex, far more revealing. Mercury going direct is not an off switch for chaos. It's the beginning of a deeper unraveling, one that the moon is about to amplify in ways few are prepared for. What most fail to understand is that Mercury's shift from retrograde to direct is not an instant fix. It's a recalibration. The shadow period lingers, and the moon, now acting as a cosmic echo chamber, ensures that every unresolved thought, every delayed conversation, every suppressed truth gets one final moment in the spotlight. You may feel a strange duality, an urgent pull to act, to speak, to finally move forward, while simultaneously sensing an invisible weight holding you back. This is not indecision. This is Mercury's way of forcing you to confront what was left unfinished. Pay attention to the resurfacing themes. Old arguments may reappear, not to reignite conflict, but to offer closure. Messages from the past, whether through dreams, sudden memories, or even unexpected encounters, will carry a sharper clarity than they did before. The universe isn't just cleaning up loose ends. It's showing you the patterns you missed the first time around. The moon's role here is critical. It takes Mercury's fragmented signals and turns them into emotional frequencies you can't ignore. A conversation from weeks ago may suddenly make sense in a new light. A decision you thought was settled may demand a second look. This is where the real test begins. Some will mistake this phase for continued confusion, not realizing it's actually a deeper form of clarity in disguise. The fog doesn't just lift, it rearranges itself, revealing what was always there but remained unseen. You might notice words carrying unintended weight, texts being misread, or conversations taking unexpected turns. Again, this isn't random. It's the moon amplifying Mercury's unfinished business, forcing you to listen more closely, to read between the lines, to recognize the truths you've been avoiding. And then there are the flashes, those inexplicable moments of electric insight that cut through weeks of noise. A realization that hits like lightning. A sudden knowing that rearranges everything. These are not accidents. They are Mercury, now fully charged, delivering the messages that got lost in the retrograde's haze. But with the moon's influence, they don't just arrive as thoughts. They land as visceral, undeniable truths. You may feel them in your body before your mind catches up. A tightening in your chest, a chill down your spine. A dream that lingers long after you wake. The key is to resist the urge to force premature resolution. Mercury may be moving forward, but the moon demands emotional integration. Rushing into decisions now would be like slamming a book shut before reading the final chapter. The chaos you're feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's proof that something is being set right. The retrograde's purpose wasn't to delay you, it was to prepare you. And now, with the moon as your guide, you're being shown exactly where to look next. By the time this phase passes, you'll understand why the clarity you expected didn't arrive neatly packaged. It wasn't meant to. True clarity isn't just about seeing, it's about understanding. And that requires feeling every step of the way. The storm isn't over, it's just changing form. And the next wave is already on the horizon. Regulus awakens, the ego's dangerous game, April 8th. As the moon brushes past Regulus on April 8th, an ancient celestial trigger is pulled. Known in traditional astrology as the heart of the lion, Regulus has long been associated with kingship, destiny, and the precarious balance between noble power and destructive pride. This is no ordinary lunar transit. When the moon, the ruler of our emotional body, aligns with this royal fixed star, it ignites something primal in the human psyche. A hunger for recognition, a surge of self-assertion, a dangerous crossroads where confidence can either become enlightenment or tyranny in the blink of an eye. What makes this alignment particularly volatile is its timing. Coming just as Mercury stations direct and Venus prepares to end her retrograde, this lunar Regulus meeting acts like spiritual lighter fluid poured over smoldering embers. You'll feel it first as an almost physical tightening in your solar plexus, a sudden, compelling need to stand taller, speak firmer, and demand the respect you've perhaps been quietly denying yourself. This energy is neither good nor bad in itself. It simply reveals what already lives within you. The question is, will you wield this awakening as a sword or as a scepter? The shadow side of this transit manifests rapidly. Observe the people around you carefully over these 24 hours. Some who've been meek will find their voice. Others who've been quietly manipulative may suddenly drop all pretenses. You might encounter shocking displays of arrogance from unexpected sources, colleagues asserting dominance, friends making unreasonable demands, even strangers radiating an unearned sense of superiority. The most spiritually immature will mistake this energy for permission to dominate. They'll play at being kings and queens without understanding true sovereignty requires wisdom first. For those on the awakening path, the challenge is more nuanced. Regulus doesn't just inflate the ego, it exposes where your ego has been operating in secret. That sudden irritation when someone interrupts you, the pang of jealousy when a peer succeeds, the defensive thought that whispers, "I deserve better," without actionable self-improvement, these are Regulus holding up a mirror to your unconscious power dynamics. The moon ensures you feel these revelations at a cellular level, bypassing mental justifications. History shows that when Regulus is activated, societal structures tremble. On a personal level, your own inner hierarchy, the way you assign value to yourself and others, comes up for ruthless review. This is why ancient astrologers associated this star with both the rise of legendary leaders and the downfall of tyrants. The same energy that makes you declare, "I will no longer play small," can also make you say, "No one else matters," if left unchecked. The difference lies in one crucial choice. Are you claiming power to elevate or to separate? Pay special attention to dreams on this night and synchronicities in the following days. The universe often uses symbolic language during Regulus transits. You might encounter lion imagery, receive unexpected promotions or challenges to your authority, or find yourself in situations that test your ability to lead with compassion rather than control. These aren't random occurrences. They're initiation rites disguised as everyday life. By the time the moon moves away from Regulus, the emotional atmosphere will have shifted palpably. Some relationships may feel strained beyond repair. Others might surprisingly deepen through honest confrontations. What matters isn't the external fallout, but the internal realignment. True sovereignty, the kind Regulus actually rewards, isn't about dominating your world. It's about mastering the part of you that still believes domination is power. The cosmic spotlight is on. How will you wear your crown? The challenge doesn't end when the transit does. Like a royal decree, the choices made under this influence will echo far beyond a single day. Saturn watches closely from the wings, preparing to enforce karmic consequences in the coming acts of this celestial drama. The question lingering in the air is simple yet profound. Did you awaken the monarch or the monster within? The answer will reveal itself soon enough. Saturn's Judgment Day. Words become karma, April 10th. As Mercury, freshly direct, forms a tense conjunction with Saturn on April 10th, the universe presses mute on empty chatter and elevates every meaningful word to the status of sacred contract. This is no ordinary planetary meeting. Saturn, the celestial judge, does not entertain frivolities. When Mercury stands before its stern gaze, language transforms from mere communication into something far more consequential: karmic currency. What you say today will not simply be heard, it will be recorded, weighed, and inevitably returned to you. The moon, still reverberating from its encounter with Regulus, now acts as an emotional amplifier for this sobering truth. The first thing you'll notice is the weight. Conversations that would normally flow lightly suddenly feel dense, as if each syllable carries invisible anchors. A casual remark lands with unintended force. A passing comment lingers in the air longer than it should. This is Saturn stripping language down to its essence, removing the safety nets of plausible deniability we habitually cling to. You may find yourself pausing mid-sentence, overcome by the unshakable sense that you're being asked, no, required, to mean exactly what you say. The days of, "I didn't mean it like that," are over, at least for now. Boundaries emerge as a central theme. With Saturn involved, every no becomes a structural beam in the architecture of your life, while every compromised yes reveals itself as a crack in your foundation. The moon ensures these realizations aren't merely intellectual, they arrive as visceral, bodily knowledge. A tension in your jaw when you suppress your truth, a sinking in your stomach when you override your limits. These physical signals are Saturn's way of bypassing the mind's excuses and speaking directly to your soul. The message is clear. Your words are no longer just expressions. They are declarations of worth. Relationships undergo particular scrutiny under this transit. Past conversations resurface with new clarity, exposing patterns you may have rationalized away. That offhand criticism from a partner, the backhanded compliment from a colleague, the promise you made to yourself but quietly abandoned, Saturn shines its unforgiving light on them all. The cosmic question isn't whether these exchanges happened, but why you tolerated what you knew, deep down, was unacceptable. The judgments being passed today aren't about punishment. They're about revealing where your speech and your self-respect have been misaligned. For those who've been sitting on difficult truths, this is the universe's deadline. Saturn does not reward cowardice, but it does respect timing. The words that stick in your throat today, the confession, the apology, the long overdue confrontation, are precisely the ones demanding release. Hesitate, and the moon will magnify the discomfort into unmistakable distress. Speak, and you'll feel Saturn's paradoxical gift, the crushing relief of truth finally set free. Either way, silence is no longer an option. Dreams during this period often serve as karmic courtrooms. You might find yourself replaying conversations from years past, finally understanding their hidden significance. Recurring nightmares about being unheard or misunderstood reach their crescendo tonight. These are not mere anxiety manifestations. They're your psyche's final attempts to settle old accounts before Saturn closes the ledger. By day's end, a peculiar stillness sets in. The heaviness lifts, not because the consequences are done, but because the verdict has been rendered. Some relationships will feel irreparably altered. Others will gain surprising solidity. What matters is that the words hanging in the air now are the ones that were always meant to be said. Saturn never promises ease, only integrity. And integrity, as you're about to learn, has its own kind of gravity, one that pulls you inexorably toward the person you're meant to become. The echoes of today will reverberate long after the transit passes. Contracts signed now carry unusual weight. Promises made become unbreakable vows. Even casual agreements seem to acquire unexpected significance months down the line. This is Saturn's way of reminding you. Language was never just sound. It's the substance from which realities are forged. Handle it accordingly. Venus direct. Love's painful truths. April 12th. When Venus finally stations direct on April 12th, the collective exhale is almost palpable. The retrograde is over. The confusion should clear. Relationships should smooth out. But Venus doesn't work that way. Not when the moon is still reverberating with the echoes of Saturn's judgments and Mercury's revelations. What follows isn't a return to normalcy, but a confrontation with truths too potent to remain buried any longer. This is not the resolution you imagined. It's the reckoning you actually need. The first wave hits as a surge of uncomfortable clarity. The compromises you made during Venus retrograde, the doubts you silenced, the red flags you rationalized, the needs you downplayed, now stand exposed in unforgiving daylight. The moon ensures these realizations aren't intellectual exercises. They arrive as visceral reactions, a pang in your chest when you remember a lover's empty promise, a wave of nausea when you confront how long you've tolerated less than you deserve. This isn't retrograde fog lifting. It's the veil of self-deception dissolving. Relationships undergo sudden stress tests during this transition. A partner's casual remark cuts deeper than it should. An old flame resurfaces with impeccable timing. A mirror catches your reflection at an unguarded moment, revealing the quiet resignation in your eyes. These aren't random occurrences. They're Venus, now moving forward, forcing you to reconcile the relationship you've been living with the one your soul actually craves. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's proof that something is finally being set right. The most surprising revelations often concern self-worth. Venus retrograde's gift was the opportunity to revisit your values. Venus direct's mandate is to live by them. That lingering sense of dissatisfaction when scrolling through dating profiles, the inexplicable anger that flares during intimacy, the sudden inability to stomach certain behaviors you once tolerated. These are not mood swings. They're your soul's boundaries solidifying in real time. The moon amplifies this process, turning subtle intuitions into undeniable bodily sensations. You may find yourself physically recoiling from situations or people you once endured without complaint. For some, this transit brings painful goodbyes. A relationship that's been limping along reveals its expiration date. A friendship built on uneven investment finally collapses under its own weight. What makes these endings particularly intense is their abrupt clarity. One moment you're going through the motions, the next you're struck with the absolute knowing that you're done. Venus doesn't soften these blows because they're not meant to be softened. They're meant to be felt in their entirety, down to the marrow. Others experience a different kind of awakening, the realization that they've been the toxic one. The moon's influence here is merciless. Memories you've carefully edited resurface unvarnished. The times you took more than you gave, the moments you weaponized vulnerability, the compromises you demanded but never reciprocated. This isn't about self-flagellation. It's about Venus insisting you grow into someone capable of the love you claim to want. By day's end, the emotional landscape looks radically different. Some connections will feel irreparably altered. Others will gain new depth through shared vulnerability. Texts from exes may arrive with uncanny timing, not as temptations but as final tests of your evolving standards. The question hanging in the air is simple yet profound. Now that you see clearly, what will you choose to do about it? Venus doesn't promise happy endings. It promises authentic ones. And sometimes the most authentic thing you can do is walk away from a relationship, a pattern, or a version of yourself that's outgrown its usefulness. The pain you feel today isn't the price of loss. It's the cost of rebirth. Tomorrow, the real work begins. But tonight, the moon asks only one thing of you: feel it all. No filters, no escape. Just the raw, radiant truth of a heart that's finally learning its own worth. The moon's final test, your hidden weakness exposed. As the week of April 6th to 12th draws to a close, the moon prepares its most revealing act. This is not about grand cosmic events or dramatic planetary alignments. It's about something far more intimate, the quiet, surgical exposure of your most carefully hidden vulnerabilities. The storm you've been navigating wasn't just happening around you, it was happening within you. And now, In these final hours, the moon illuminates what still needs to be seen. What makes this phase particularly potent is its subtlety. Unlike the obvious challenges of Mercury's shift or Venus's direct station, this test arrives in whispers, a fleeting thought that lingers too long, a minor irritation that cuts deeper than it should, a moment of unexpected emotion when you least anticipate it. These aren't random glitches in your emotional framework. They're precise indicators of where you're still spiritually porous, where old wounds haven't fully healed, where boundaries haven't properly set, where self-deception still lingers in the shadows. The moon's method here is exacting. It applies pressure not to the major crises you're already aware of, but to the small, everyday moments you typically dismiss. That sudden flush of anger when someone interrupts you, the disproportionate hurt when a text goes unanswered, the vague sense of unease in certain environments. These reactions are spiritual diagnostics, revealing where you're still giving your power away without realizing it. The test isn't in the trigger itself, but in your ability to recognize why it affects you so deeply. Dreams during this period take on particular significance. Where earlier in the week they may have been chaotic or prophetic, they now become startlingly precise. You might dream of forgotten childhood scenes that mirror current anxieties, or replay recent interactions with new, uncomfortable clarity. These aren't just subconscious processing. They're the moon working overtime to ensure you don't miss what your waking mind has been avoiding. Pay special attention to recurring symbols or sensations. The body often understands what the mind refuses to acknowledge. Relationships serve as the final proving ground. The people who trigger strong reactions in you now, whether positive or negative, are unwittingly highlighting your unfinished business. That coworker whose confidence irks you, they're mirroring a quality you've been afraid to claim. That friend whose neediness annoys you, they're reflecting your own disowned vulnerability. The moon doesn't create these dynamics. It simply turns up the volume so you can no longer pretend not to hear them. What makes this different from ordinary emotional turbulence is the crystalline awareness that accompanies it. There's no confusion about why you're reacting, only the uncomfortable truth that you can no longer pretend otherwise. This is spiritual growth in its rawest form, not the dramatic breakthroughs we imagine, but the quiet, humbling moments when we finally admit where we're still broken. The gift in this exposure is precision. Where once you might have felt generally off or unbalanced, you now receive exact coordinates to your weak points. That tightness in your throat when you consider speaking your truth, that's where you need to build courage. The hollow feeling when you people please, that's where authentic connection is being sacrificed for approval. The moon doesn't just show you these places, it shows you how they connect, revealing the larger pattern of where and how you leak energy. By the time this lunar cycle completes, you'll possess something far more valuable than easy answers. Exact questions. Not, why does this keep happening to me? But why do I keep allowing this particular dynamic? Not, when will I be healed? But, what specific healing does this exact moment require? This is the difference between wandering in circles and walking a path, even when that path leads straight through your most tender places. The week's final lesson is this: your weaknesses were never flaws to be ashamed of. They were always sacred indicators, pointing precisely where your attention was most needed. The storm wasn't trying to break you. It was trying to show you where you were already cracked, not to punish you for the damage, but to give you the chance to repair it properly this time. As the moon moves on, it leaves behind one lingering question. Now that you see what you see, what will you choose to do about it? The answer to that question doesn't just conclude this chapter, it writes the beginning of the next.